we'll introduce Bill Chris, one of our very own in the Bugs Got Talent series. Number 2.
In the what?
Bugs Got Talent.
Bugs Got Talent?
America's Got Talent. But we don't have any judges here. We don't need them. I don't need to introduce Bill. He's spoken here many times, and tonight's conversation will be about current trends in personal computing. And Bill is the most, probably one of the most, what's the word, able or capable people to explain to us what that's all about. Okay. So without further ado.
Wow, what a setup. By the way, before I get started, does anyone here have a car with a license plate that says Linux?
Yeah.
Your dome light is on.
Okay.
It's hanging down from the ceiling.
See?
Yeah.
You know that?
No, but I do now.
You do now? Okay.
You mean it's
That was a service announcement. I had to make that. Just so I have a sense of the audience. I did give this talk 2 years ago, in January. How many of you saw it then? Oh, boy. Okay, good.
Okay,
Good.
call it quits.
Oh, no, you won't. Oh, no, you won't.
Is it the same?
No, it's not the same. Because as you'll see, a few things have changed between then and now. All right? Just a few. All right. In fact, as I was putting this talk together, I realized that this talk is really not about current trends in personal computing. It's more about, page down. Wait a minute. You got to have focus. There we go. It's more about current trends in personal technology, because it's not about that big box that's sitting in your den or wherever it happens to sit anymore, as you will see. So, what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, as always, we start out with a few questions, just to get the sense of the audience. And from there, we're going to go and talk about some general trends as an introduction to the rest of it. We'll talk about ecosystems or ecosystems and mobile computing and new ways to interact with your computing device. Talk a little bit about the Internet of Things, networking, and I'll finish off with a few predictions by Ray Kurzweil. How many of you know of Ray Kurzweil? Okay. I will introduce him before I put up his predictions. Okay, so first of all, a few questions. How many of you use a smartphone? Okay, and how many of you use that smartphone to do things other than make phone calls? There you go.
Can it make a phone call?
I've been told that it can. Of course, then again, we don't have a phone system anymore. But that was your point.
It makes the calls all by itself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But only if you put it in certain parts of your anatomy. All right? Okay.
Bill, what is a smartphone?
A smartphone is a phone that contains not only the ability to make phone calls, but also has things like a web browser and anything else you want to do with your computer. It is, in essence, your personal handheld computer.
That can also make phone calls.
That can also make phone calls.
So in other words, it's wireless internet.
No.
No, it's cellular internet.
Cellular? Okay.
Cellular, yeah.
Okay.
Wireless has a particular meaning
Yeah, I
that
see
means
what you mean.
Wi-Fi
Yeah.
usually.
And
But cellular is more than that, as you'll see when I get to the networking stuff. Okay?
What?
So, yes.
It doesn't have anything to do with the topic. Can we kill the lights?
Oh, yeah. Please turn the lights down. And don't turn them all the way off. I don't want people falling asleep. No, please. No, that's better. Thank you. I need to be able to see their reaction. All right? So if somebody happens to tend to fall asleep, I go and whack them beside the head. Okay. So, how many of you use a tablet? There you go. All right.
You don't call a Kindle a tablet, right?
What's a
It
Kindle?
knows the tablet.
A Kindle's a tablet?
Okay.
Well,
Yes.
then I use a tablet.
Yeah, okay, tablet. How many people have 8 gig or more of RAM in their PCs?
At least one of them.
At least one of the PCs, yeah. All right, good. Okay. How many have purchased a computer in the last 3 months? Do you get a sense of that? Okay, a few of you.
I bought a
Good.
car.
What?
A car.
A car?
Yes. I
Yes.
bought a computer.
Or multiple computers, as you said before. Did you get one of the ones that has 100?
Arduino.
It's probably close to it.
Close to it? What'd you get? A Camry Hybrid?
Yes.
Okay, cool. By the way, I won't be able to make it tomorrow morning, but I definitely am interested in the topic. So maybe March or some other time. Okay. So, how many of you have scanned a barcode to do a price comparison?
Actually, I did it once.
Okay. By the way, did you do it while you were in a brick and mortar store?
Yes.
Okay. And did you end up buying whatever in that store?
No.
Ah, you begin to see
Went down the street.
you begin to see the problem here, especially if you're Best Buy. And then there's the age-old question: how young is too old to use a computer? You may remember from a couple years ago when I said this, that my point on the curve at that point was like 1.75 years old, because my granddaughter would play with my daughter's iPhone in the subway. I have a new data point.
How young is too old?
How young is too old to start using a computer? You kind of mess with their minds. How young is too old? Because now my data point is 1.5. All right? My youngest grandson, who I FaceTime with periodically, he knows how to use that iPad to do various things. And every now and then his father has to say, don't do that because you just put him on pause. Have to get him back. 1.5 years old. Right? Moving on. Okay, so how many of you communicate with a friend or family member using a social networking site of some sort? Right?
Does LinkedIn count?
Does what?
Does LinkedIn count?
Sure.
Okay,
That's business social.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. You know, because some of us actually keep track of our kids that way. I can find out what my kids are up to, what my grandkids are up to. It's great. Anybody use facial recognition to log in their computer yet? There you go.
Except it usually doesn't.
Well, that is a computer, though, isn't it?
Yep.
But it
Okay.
doesn't recognize it.
It does. And how does that make you feel?
I'm grateful because the picture is so awful.
Okay, moving on. Let's see. Gaming console interactions with body motion. Anybody done that? There you go. Okay. Connect or what? Wii. Okay, yes.
Wii bowling.
Wii bowling. Okay, how many of you use speech recognition software? Okay, excellent.
I use
Good.
smartphone.
Smartphone has it.
Oh, of course.
You
know,
phone menu.
You mean things like, where's my wife?
No, like dial. Call so-and-so.
Don't tell them,
What's
Ryan.
the
It
answer?
says looking for Carol Chris. See? Oops. Ow. Find my friends isn't available now. Sorry. Try again later. Okay.
It's on mine, I found you.
See that?
You're right here.
But you, and so are you, Gene. All right. And even more questions. Skype or FaceTime to talk to somebody overseas. Okay? See where this telephone company thing is having problems, Lorraine?
It's Apple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, FaceTime is Apple. Skype is Microsoft now. Okay, so how many of you have used an electronic boarding pass?
That's an answer to that.
You mean
But I've used one.
The airline. You know, you walk up to the counter, and instead of handing them a piece of paper or something,
All working.
you hold your little phone up and they scan it. Right? Okay, next question. How many of you have paid for their Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts bill using the app? Come on, folks, this is what a program
I
here.
use my wallet.
Wallet.
I got a wallet on my phone.
You
You
got a
just
wallet?
go pop,
Okay.
and they go, How'd you do that?
So you're using that NFC?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, by the way, NFC stands for Near Field Communication. All right? And you'll see that later on. We'll talk about that. How many of you watch TV using your tablet screen as a second screen? Okay. We're starting to get to the point where there's stuff happening on the screen, the TV screen, and people watching that particular program are interacting with each other, and that interaction, of course, is taking place on the tablet screen. It's just the way the world is changing a little bit here. Okay, how many of you do not have a landline phone?
Just got rid of it.
See that?
And my comment.
I have it, but it's been about 3 years
Is
since
what?
I've
It's
used it.
his.
It's
I
his?
wish I had.
You wish you had.
Well,
I
Verizon
disconnected
just-
mine 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Now
and?
they won't let me reconnect it.
See that?
Oh, they don't want copper in
No, and in
Yeah.
fact,
It's too expensive to
Yeah.
maintain.
in fact, Verizon just sent a letter around to me saying that they are going to replace all the copper with fiber.
Right.
That's right.
As soon as they sent me that letter, I said, no longer any reason to have the landline. I got one of the old phones, plugged it into the central office battery, and it worked during Sandy.
I can give you a persuasion of a landline.
All right, anyway, okay.
Our failure.
Yeah, but they're
It
not
won't
gonna
work
offer
anymore.
it. They're not gonna offer it anymore.
Yep. Hey, man, it's a new world. You know, it's tough sometimes. Okay, moving on. Okay, so how many of you get more of your news through electronic media rather than physical media? See that? I found a little thing here that said 60% of internet users 65 years old and older get news online. Compliments of your friends at AARP. I learned that.
How
Okay?
does that work?
And in
How's that work? What?
The AARP. What does AARP do with that?
I don't know. I just
They just did a survey.
they took a survey.
I see.
Yeah.
in India, most people get their news on their cell phones.
Damn, John, you're 2 slides ahead of me. Yes, we'll talk about brick. Okay, so how many of you have participated in a massively open online course?
Like a library course.
No, let me give you an example. Because my wife just... Huh?
Corsair?
There's two examples out there. Coursera is one of them. Another one is edx.org. And edx.org was started by, I believe it was MIT and Berkeley. You may have heard of them, right? And more recently, Harvard has joined in. My wife just finished one of these things.
Yeah.
And Stanford, and Berkeley, yeah. My wife just finished one of these courses in biostatistics and epidemiology. Okay? And it was taught by 2 guys from Harvard. Yeah, it was from Harvard. There were 37,000 people who signed up for the course. And at least a few of them in the Northeast in New Jersey, because of Sandy, didn't finish the homework.
That's right.
All right? But my wife did end up auditing the course. And by the way, how many of you know what Tim Horton is? Tim Horton. Does that ring any bells? Okay. One of the examples that the professor used in this biostatistics thing was, for 10 years, he asked his students who were taking the course a series of questions. And he found out that the questions that had the highest correlation for predicting whether or not you were Canadian, whether or not you answered a positive to the question, have you had a Tim Horton? Right? Now, for those of you who don't know, Tim Horton is a donut shop in Canada. All right? It's a chain like Dunkin' Donuts. Right? And one of their donuts is called a Tim Horton. Now, those of us who've had a Tim Horton understood the question right away. By the way, another question on there that was near the top was, how many of you have had poutine?
What?
Poutine. French Quebec dish.
Oh.
It is French fries and gravy and cheese curds. And you have it once. And your cardiologist tells you never again.
It's like blood sausage.
That's right. Yeah, same idea. All right.
So what type of donut is a Tim Horton?
I believe the Tim Horton, and you can check this out. I think it's the one with has the nice white icing on top. I think that's the one.
Okay.
But I forget, because it's been a while since I've been up there. Okay, anybody dropped off film to be developed?
Huh?
There's one in every crowd. Just, it's going out of style, just in case you know, Kodak.
It's been getting harder and harder.
It's been getting harder. Yeah, you've seen that. Okay. All right. Okay. How many people have their home thermostat connected to the internet? Oh, man.
How does one do that?
How does one do that? One goes to the store and buys a thermostat made by a company called Nest. Okay?
Okay.
And once one does that, let me just disconnect here for a second.
That's all that is.
That's all you have to know.
After that, it's easy.
After that, it's easy, eh? Okay, so once you do that, for example, right now, the temperature in my house is 70 degrees. The thermostat is set to 69. Right? And not only that, but my energy usage yesterday was 3¼ hours, and here's how it was spread out during the day.
3¼ hours, you mean what hours?
No, hours. Number of hours that the heater was running in the house.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
And you're not counting your clocks or refrigerator? Or
No. This is heat.
Just heat.
This is just heat. Now, if I really wanted to play a number on my wife, I could turn the heat off right now. But see,
This is if somebody hacks into your system
oh no.
and sends it
So anyway,
But you don't know what your wife says.
this is an example of the Internet of Things that I'll talk about later.
Bill,
Yes.
if you and your wife disagree, your wife is home and you on your computer,
Right.
who wins?
My wife wins, by definition. Why are you even asking that question? Come on.
No, I mean, the one is home or the one's in.
If you're asking a technical question,
Yeah.
the last one wins.
Okay.
Whoever did it the last wins.
Okay.
All right?
Wow, you can disconnect the computer from the internet, right?
The Nest Linux thermostat, because it is Linux, is Wi-Fi connected into the server in the sky.
So you'd have to turn off your Wi-Fi.
You have to turn off your Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Reprogram Linux.
No, you're not going to reprogram it. Nah, we're not going there. Okay. So that was the 20 questions to get us started.
You didn't ask who streams that TV?
Who what?
Streams that TV?
Oh, I can't ask everything. This is more about computing than it is about TV. Cass talked about
Who
TV
watches their
before.
TV over the internet opposed to cable?
Those of you who haven't seen this presentation before, this is what it could devolve into. So I have to keep a very tight rein on this. Okay, general trends. Smartphones and tablets are gaining on desktop PCs and notebooks.
What's
Yes.
the difference between a tablet and a notebook?
A tablet is something that has a single viewing service, like this. All right? No keyboard. It's just a single viewing service, typically touch screen. All right? Notebook is one of these guys, also called a laptop.
Oh,
Okay?
But small.
To be differentiated from a netbook, which was around for a while. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay? So that's what's going on there. What you're seeing is that vendors are building ecosystems that include their products and services to kind of rope you in to them. Mobile computing is on the rise. Duh. There are new ways to interact with your computer. The Internet of Things, it's really about computers talking to other computers. That's what the Internet of Things is all about. So those are the general trends. Oops, bandwidth continues to increase. Forgot about that one, as you'll see. Let's talk a little bit about smartphones and tablets here. October 2012, 6 billion cell phone subscribers in the world. 1 billion of them had smartphones. The rest of them had those dumb phones, also known as feature phones. Okay? That all you can do with them is, make a call, maybe do a little bit of web surfing, a little bit of texting. But you got to use that stupid idiot 12-button pad to send your texts, which are painful. There were 2.3 billion internet users, and of course, at the same time, the world had a population of 7 billion. Now, here's an interesting one. At the end of 2012, there were more internet-connected devices in the United States than there were people. All right? So obviously, the ratio of devices to people is more than one, if you think about it. I mean, look at here. I got 3 to 1. That's just what I'm carrying with me tonight. Right? And this is the ratios of the different types of devices. Sure, desktops and laptops make up the lion's share over here in blue, but you'll see the combination of smartphones, video game consoles, tablets, and things like that make up a good portion on the other side. So more about smartphones and tablets. In October 2012, for that month, the number of tablets shipped was more than the number of laptops shipped. And the prediction for 2013, forget about it. We're only going to ship 207 million notebooks, but we're going to ship 240 million tablets. So this is the tipping point. This is it for the year. Another thing that I saw, schools will have more tablets than they do computers by 2016. All these prognosticators are out there.
What about the theft
Yeah, but
problem then?
That makes an assumption that the tablets will be able to do applications that heretofore have been exclusively on laptops or PCs.
Correct. And we'll say more about that in a minute.
Bill, what about the theft problem some schools having tablets?
Yes. But, a tablet is the same kind of thing as a book. If everyone has them, why steal? Right?
They may not have one of
Look,
them.
when you enter the school, we're going to issue you a tablet. It might be a foreign concept to some of us, but that could be the way it is. So what's the stealing thing? Everyone's got one, right?
My friends, I have a friend in Stevens Tech, they only supply their books in electronic form.
Of course. Who uses paper anymore? Why use paper? Okay, now, another thing that I found is you can say goodbye to netbooks. Those are those little, teensy little things that ran those underpowered computers that only had about 1 gig of RAM and Atom processors and stuff like that. Asus and Acer, we're not going to make them anymore. Right? They're on the way out. Now, smartphones, they're going to have bigger displays. Those displays are going to be flexible, all right? And they're going to do high def. So you're going to have HDTV quality.
And quad-core.
And quad-core. Of course.
Say a flexible display, a touch screen.
No, I'll show you. I got an example. All right? Oh yeah, you also are going to have smartphones in the healthcare industry, things like that. I mean, how many of you have Fitbits and health-related devices for your smartphone? You will. It's coming, right? Especially for those of us who are getting over the edge, and they're going to find that it's easier to strap a band on us to keep track of what we're doing, because when we go to the doctor, we lie. And we can't remember how we did stuff, and how much we did or how little we did, right? So that stuff's going to continue to grow. And of course, there's going to be more touchscreen computing. All right, so now a few pictures that I stole from the coverage of the press at the Computer Electronics Show. There really were a few things going on there. Intel showed a concept of a laptop, and it looks like this. Now, the interesting part about this picture is, if you see the movie version of it, He starts out with a very thin, ultrabook-like, very thin laptop. He opens it up, and then he pulls it apart. And you end up with the tablet on top and the keyboard on the bottom. Oh yeah, the thing on the top, that'll run Windows 8. No problem. Okay? So the question is, if you need a keyboard, you put it together, you have your keyboard. If you don't need a keyboard, you pull it apart. Okay? So when people say that laptops are going out of style, and Intel is talking this talk, what do you mean laptops are going out of style? Is this a laptop? Or is this a tablet? Or what is this? That's the problem with technology. As soon as someone gets set in their ways, somebody comes along and changes the game. So that's what this is all about. Right? Now, Cass earlier on mentioned those ultra-high def TVs that do 4K, 4 times the resolution. Well, guess what? Panasonic was showing a 4K tablet. Can you imagine that resolution on a little tablet? That'd be pretty, wouldn't it? Right? Okay. Moving on. Large smartphones. This little Chinese outfit. I use the word little in quotes because they, you know, those of you who know, they're big. All right? This particular thing they were showing was, the screen is 6.1 inches. All right? That's rather large. Now see, here's another thing that's going on. We talk about things with small screens. We talk about tablets that have, 10-inch screens or something. And we talk about, there's Kindles. Where's your Kindle? Oh, here. I need my prop, man. Okay, we have things like Kindles with 7-inch screens. So you have a whole range of screen sizes depending upon what you want to do at a particular point in time. So you've got the smartphones getting bigger and bigger. You've got the laptops smaller, and you have your whole range, right? So that's the 6-inch smartphone. Now, you asked about flexible screens. Have I got a flexible screen for you? All right? There is a Windows 8 smartphone on a flexible screen. That's what we mean by flexible. Right? Isn't that wild? Yes?
Is that organic LED?
Yes.
I believe so.
What is the advantage of a flexible screen?
Doesn't break.
It doesn't break. It flexes. They can actually put, if you get a flexible screen, you can actually put the screen on a surface that is not flat. Think about what those possibilities would be.
You can wrap it around your wrist.
You can wrap it around your wrist, right? Your Dick Tracy wrist radio can be real, and you can watch it from any angle.
Watch TV.
Of course. Watch it stereo. One for each eye. Yeah.
There was one company that announced they're coming out with a 60-inch screen that you roll up and slip in a tube.
There you go.
The frame opens up and the corners clip.
There you go. And you can be sure when I give this talk 2 years from now, that'll be passé.
Panasonic was also talking about one of the large TVs which is watching you.
Oh, yeah.
It's a 1984.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, we talked about healthcare and things like that. One of the interesting things that showed up at Consumer Electronics is something called Happy Fork. All right? It looks like this. And the whole idea of this thing is if you're eating too fast, it vibrates. Right? In essence, it's telling you, slow down, dummy.
It shakes the food off.
It vibrates your hand a little bit. And it connects Bluetooth with your smartphone so you can keep track of all this stuff. And so you can slow down, enjoy life. Okay? It's, by the way, the name of the company that makes it is called Happy Labs. Isn't this great? You can't make this stuff up. I don't need to be a comedian. I have to talk about reality. I think they're going to start selling them sometime in the next quarter or two. Okay. Now let's switch over a little bit and talk about ecosystem. By the way, how are we coming on time?
Oh, time? Oh, we're good.
Are we good?
It's 8:30.
All right,
It's almost
fine, we're good.
8:30.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Bill,
I'll send
Yes.
signal
There-
you.
There's a new technology out called a wristwatch. You don't have to ask somebody.
What's,
I thought the phone,
okay, anyway, ecosystems, what's that all about? Well, it's all about the apps, the applications that run on your ecosystem, and it's also about some sort of cloud drive. How many of you use a cloud drive of some sort or other? How many use more than one? More than two? Good. More than three? Well, let's see. We got iCloud.
yeah.
We got SkyDrive. We got Google Drive.
Yeah.
We got Dropbox.
Dropbox.
And there's others. So that's at least four, right? Right there.
How many have Evernote? How many?
Evernote is an application that's in the sky.
It's also, you can drop any document.
Oh,
in
yeah,
there.
but it's an application that you can drop stuff in. Yes, but
So is Dropbox, in a way.
no, Dropbox is not, yeah. Yeah, Dropbox is file storage. Yeah. Evernote is the application that used to be on your desk when I had it back in version 2, but with version 4 and 5, it's up in the cloud now.
Bill,
Yes,
hasn't email been on the cloud forever?
it all depends. If you had Outlook and you downloaded all your email to your PC, you read it locally. You didn't read it when it was in the cloud. Now today, things like Gmail and Hotmail and stuff of that ilk, that's all in the cloud. Yeah.
Here it is.
I'm sorry?
I found it.
Good.
It's a Sony
Excellent.
screen.
I'm glad. Okay, so these ecosystems also have devices with them, desktop, smartphones, tablets, game consoles. Somebody was it the last meeting, talked about why did their Xbox have to connect with the rest of the Windows stuff? The reason is because it's part of the Windows ecosystem. And of course, all this stuff integrates with social networks, and you can do photo sharing, email, calendaring. And the big players here are Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and the one that I added last week is a little Linux outfit called Ubuntu. And the reason I added them, because they are showing off at the Consumer Electronics Show an Ubuntu phone. Yeah.
You mean canonical, right?
I mean canonical, yes. Thank you. That should say canonical.
You ran out of space.
Remind me to change it to canonical? Okay. I didn't run out of space. That's a poor excuse. Okay. So, if we look at what the ecosystem has grown over the last several years. For example, in 2007, this is what the ecosystem looked like. Green meant they had an offering in that space. Yellow meant they were in beta or they had partners helping them out with things. Red meant they didn't have anything. So you can see back then that Google and Amazon were kind of lagging behind. Compare that, however, with what's going on in 2012. In 2012, there's an awful lot of green up there. Okay? So all your major players have action in all the different categories of their ecosystem. Now, let's talk a little bit about apps. That's what happens when you have speech software. You have to speak clearly, otherwise it says, "What did you say?" Okay, as far as apps go, Apple announced back in October that at that time they had 275,000 iPad-specific apps, wanting to blow their own horn. However, it was also noted that during Christmas week, there were 1.76 million apps downloaded during that week. Now that's a combination of both Apple and Google, but it is a very large number. And Apple announced earlier this month that they had a total of 40 billion downloaded apps since the beginning of time. And at that point, they also had a total of 775,000 apps. That's for both the iPad and the iPhone and the iPod. Right? So the real question is, who's going to get to 1 million apps first? Google or Apple? And it all depends on whose numbers you look at and what assumptions they're making on the take rate.
You mean billion?
Who cares?
No, I mean millions. Because we're going from hundreds of thousands to 1 million.
You mean types of apps as opposed to downloads, so.
You're right. I mean apps rather than downloads, yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay, I'm sorry.
yeah. The billion was with downloads.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. Right? So sometime this year, we're going to cross 1 million. Now, the other interesting thing that's going on here is that you're finding people who are on one ecosystem using apps from another ecosystem. Case in point, how many of you have Apple devices that run Google apps? Right?
Oh, actually,
Everybody. Right? So you got all the Google apps.
You use them.
Well, yeah, but they, they're there, and but what you're finding is they're cross-platform. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I can get the Microsoft SkyDrive on my iDevices. Cross-platform. The cloud. Now, the cloud starts out as, okay, we're going to store my files in the cloud. And then those files become shareable. But as time goes on and you get more comfortable with things being in the cloud, you could reach a point where, in essence, you're going to the virtual you that is up in the cloud. Remember the old client-server days when everything was up there and you kind of went to it? We may be going back. Okay? Now,
You have a power outage and you can't reach the cloud.
oh, horrors. We'll have to go to plan B.
That would never happen.
We'd never have a power outage. No. Not once in 100 years. And by the way, when we had Sandy, there was in Seabright a 97-year-old woman who didn't leave. And when they finally pulled her out, she said, I haven't seen it this bad in the entire time I've lived here. And I've lived here almost my entire life. So there's your 1 in 100, right there. Right? Okay, shift gears a little bit more. We're going to talk about mobile computing now. And you mentioned it before by talking about India. What you're seeing is in countries that don't have a massive infrastructure in place, what's happening in those countries is that to get on the ball, they're going mobile to do that. So if you're in India, all right,
Yeah.
your mobile internet traffic surpassed desktop traffic back in May. Old news. Okay? We're also, speaking of mobility, we're talking about connected cars. You now have manufacturers like Ford talking about how they're going to put their cars and connect them to the internet while you're on the go and interact with your apps on your smartphone and allow for third parties to get in there and develop apps for them. Mobile payments. We mentioned this before with techniques like near-field communications, where and that's really a device that sends out a radio signal that's received by the other device that's in close proximity. Also scan QR codes. All right. When I paid for my coffee this morning in Dunkin' Donuts, they scanned the QR code that appeared on my device. Yes.
How does the NFC compare with Bluetooth?
Bluetooth has a longer range.
30 meters?
Yeah, I forget what yeah, 30 feet or something like that. But near field communication is really near. If you've seen the commercial for the Samsung Galaxy 3, where the people bump their phones and magic happens, that's near field communication, right? And in fact, see, you read my slides too, right? Near field communication may be used for more than just payments. Hyundai is considering using near field communications instead of a key fob for your car. So, some of us have these key fobs now that, you can walk up and be in proximity to your car so it can open. Well, with near field communications in your device, this will be it. Boom. Yeah. Of course, I'm going to have to supply you with a little key and a little device, because if this is dead,
Yeah.
you don't want to be dead in the water, right? So, all this stuff's going on. Anyway, this is a shot of what Ford is thinking about as far as their infotainment center going forward that will include all this good stuff. Okay, now we're talking a little bit about new ways to interact with your computer. More is being done with touch and voice and gestures. I mean, we naturally talk and gesture and get across meaning to one another. Why shouldn't we be able to do that with our computer? Gesture control. There were a couple of things that were announced at CES. One of them was by a company called Leap Motion, who's coming out with a gesture controller. And you'll be able to buy this gesture controller at Best Buy, because they have an exclusive with Best Buy in the next quarter or so. But anyway, you'll be able to do things like, you want to go up and down the screen, you do this. I saw the video, the guy's talking about the fact that they're actually building a 3D model of your movement in the air and using that to steer what the computer is going to do. So it's going to be available in Best Buy, and they also have a deal going on with Asus. So you're going to see this technology embedded in Asus computers before too long. A couple other examples. Creative Technology had an interactive gesture camera, and this company called Toby Rex had something where they were demoing the control of a Windows 8 PC with your eyes. You look at it, and it's based on what you're doing with your eyes, it can control the computer. So, interesting things with gestures going on. Oh yeah, another aspect of this is technology will be something that you end up wearing rather than something you hold. And a couple examples there. Google's working on computerized glasses called Google Glass, where you put things on and they put a little screen in front of your eye that you can interact with. Okay. Microsoft has filed a patent for something that's similar, and this is what Microsoft's patent looks like. So they're thinking along the same lines. So you see the direction of things going on here? Back in the old days, it was a keyboard. Then this fancy new thing called a mouse came along. And then we're progressing more toward natural interaction with our computers. Let me say a few words about the Internet of Things. And this is computers talking to computers, right? So here you have a uniquely identified object or a thing, and its virtual representation out there in this internet structure. Now, this is one of the reasons, by the way, that we are eventually going to have to go to this new protocol called IPv6, so we have enough unique addresses. Because once you go to IPv6, I think every person on the planet can have 400 million IP addresses for themselves. So there'll be enough at that point. Yes?
That's assuming they continue using TCP/IP.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, Metcalf did a lot of work on that, so you might as well use it. Right? That's true. Yeah. Okay, let's see, what else we got on this one? So this whole thing creates means for communicating different types of information to one another. I mean, they talk about refrigerators that have all this stuff, washing machines, rice cookers, you name it. Someone will, if there's a reason to do it, whether you and I think that reason is reasonable or not, it'll get done. We've seen that happen in the past. And of course, the positive prognosticator will tell you that once everything gets connected, life will be great, as if it isn't already. Life will be transformed. How many times have we heard that phrase in the last 100 years? Right?
And the problem is it's true.
And that's exactly the problem. It's true. Now, will you get used to it?
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for. Yeah, you will get it. Yes. Now, another thing that people have been talking about for a long time,
Yes.
is it happens to be a thing, that's why I put it here, is a 3D printer. Right? Wouldn't it be great? Huh?
The things will make things.
Things will make
Yeah.
things. Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
There you go. All right? This is the Replicator 2X that they were showing at CES. But the Replicator 2 can be purchased right now for $2,100. Yep. And this comes with a pound of stuff that gets squirted into the contraption, and that molds whatever it is you have it draw and create. Right?
How long does it take?
I don't know.
It comes with documents, so can.
You expect me to cover all that detail in 1 hour talk? Besides, I don't know. Okay.
It depends on how high you want it to build.
Yep.
It's one of the problems you can make your own gun.
Well, actually, that's another thing that I tripped across in my research. Do you know that there is a computerized gun out there, $17,000, that has, I don't know how many computers in it, but it won't fire until your target is dead on. But that's $17,000, and that's guns. I don't want to talk about guns in this.
How do they know what your target is?
But I don't want to go there. Let's talk about networking and bandwidth, all right? Because after all, we have to get that high bandwidth to you. You may remember when I gave the talk 2 years ago that I mentioned that the Chattanooga, Tennessee Electric Utility was installing 1 gigabit connectivity to homes down there. And they still have that going. It's a going concern. In the meantime, our friends at Google have been mucking around Kansas City, in both states, installing 1 gigabit per second fiber to the home out there, right? At the same time, slackers Verizon and Comcast are only able to offer you a measly 300 down.
And how much?
I don't know, $200 a month or something like that. The Google thing, although it does, the Google thing does not do telephony, because they get worried about the telephony crap and all those weird stuff. I don't want to get involved in that. But for $70 a month, we'll give it to you the one gig. Verizon and Comcast, paltry 300 down range, because that's going up in the past 2 years too, right?
I have a friend in France that gets 1 gig bandwidth.
Sure.
I mean, it's standard in Europe.
Of course.
Yeah.
Some dude. But of course. All right. Anyway, so that's what's going on in the fixed realm. Now let's talk a little bit about the wireless realm. Well, for mobile, you've got 4G LTE coming along, right? Verizon and AT&T and Sprint are all actively installing 4G LTE, which of course the standards people got through with back in 2008. But they're putting it in now. And the target download speed for that is 100 megabits per second down and 50 megs up. And, you know, it's getting close. My son's got an iPhone 5 with LTE down in Alexandria, Virginia, and he did the speed test thing, 26 down. Not too bad. Okay, so, however, there's also something called LTE Advanced that's been specified. And Advanced gives you more bandwidth, all right? And they use more antennas with multiple antennas so they can do diversity in all kinds of very interesting ways. So their target is a download speed of 1 gigabit per second if you're walking very slowly with low mobility. Which, I mean, I presume what that means is if you're in a car with high mobility, we're not going to promise you 1 gig, we're going to promise you 100. So live with it, right? Now, on the local Wi-Fi front, for several years now, we've had 802.11n, which theoretically maxes out at 450. But you can go out today and buy routers that support something called 802.11ac. And those routers with the right client equipment that is alleged to be coming this year. Stay tuned for next year's presentation. All right? 1.3 gigs down. So, you know, when you got all the stuff, we're squirting it around the house, that's how you're going to be doing it. Okay. Now, I mentioned before that I was going to talk a little bit about Ray Kurzweil's predictions. Now, for those of you who don't know, Ray Kurzweil is, he first became famous for creating a reading machine way back when. And he's an author, inventor, he's a futurist, and he's currently director of engineering at this little company called Google. Right? So you can, as you watch what's going on in Google, keep these things in mind that you're going to see right now. So let's go through his predictions. Our brains will extend to the cloud, which will allow us to learn new things at any age. See, there's still hope for those of us over 45. All right? That's a truly good thing. We will be able to selectively erase pieces of memory. Isn't that a wonderful thing? I read somewhere where one of the reasons why older people can't learn new stuff is because there's too much stuff already in there, and they got to get rid of some of it so you can get new stuff in. So, you'll be able to selectively erase. Marvelous thing. We'll be in augmented reality at all times. I think 50 years ago they used to call that drunk. But now it's and 25 years ago it was called LSD. So in the future it's going to be called augmented reality. See, here's the deal with augmented reality. You and I are having this conversation, except I'm not here and neither are you. That's what we mean by augmented reality. And that is the target architecture, for those of you who think in architectural terms. Right? That's where we're going with this.
You have 10 minutes, you okay?
Oh, I'm okay. I only have a couple more predictions. Okay, by 2029, machines will be able to match the intelligence of humans. God forbid. And they'll be able to make us laugh and cry.
They already do.
That's right. Last I checked, they already do make us laugh and cry. What about it? Absolutely. Yes. But just think about these statements and think about where Google's going. Because remember, he's now their head guy.
When did he make these predictions? Do you remember?
Yes, he gave a talk in November of 2012 in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And I have the URL on my slides. Fairly recently, yes.
There's no use for us anymore.
Oh, absolutely. No. We still need humans for various reasons.
To pay Google.
That's right. Absolutely correct. Okay. So anyway, by the 2030s, tiny nanobots are going to be able to repair and preserve our organs to keep us healthier and smarter.
I may not be around.
I may not be either, but for my grandkids, it'll be a marvelous life, right? Great stuff. Okay. What else is going on here? 3D printing will be even more common than it is today. Well, of course it is. It's not common at all today. But public 3D printing stations for people to print out clothes, toys, anything else. You just do it. Within 25 years, computers will be the size of a blood cell, be able to be connected to the brain without need for surgery. Hey, that's great. We'll give you a shot. That's the end of it. Boom. Instant connectivity. Remember, it's brain to brain, this thing I was talking about before. No big deal.
Think about hacking.
And the other thing that Kurzweil is known for is this term of technological singularity. And that's going to happen in 2045. Technology enables superhuman machine intelligence to emerge and people and machines become deeply integrated. Is it real or is it Memorex? Only certain people will know the answer to that question. Only a hairdresser knows for sure.
My computer can beat up your computer?
Something like that. All right? So think about those predictions as we go forward. And when I give this talk 2 years from now, we'll see how many of those came true and to what degree. And I always close with my slide about change. All right? Because remember, there's nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take lead in the introduction of a new way of things. Right? And you know who said that? Machiavelli. In 1513, the name of the book is The Prince. All right? Okay. The other thing you remember is nothing endures but change. And that is attributed to Heraclitus. right? And then, of course, there's the Bill Chris corollary to that, and the only thing that changes is the rate. It keeps getting faster and faster. And with that, I thank you. Any questions that we haven't already covered in gory detail? Wow.
No, the
I
Chris
think you
well,
lost this, Bill.
Huh?
I think you lost this. I only got electricity in November.
We know that.
I think the Criswell prediction sort of puts a haze in front of our eyes.
Of course. Any good prediction should put a haze in front of your eyes. Because it's just a prediction. It's like it could or could not. And to what degree, who knows? But at least it gives you something to think about. Anything else? Yes.
You didn't mention the Arduino. That's making its way into things like rice cookers now.
Well, yeah, but what about Raspberry Pi?
That too.
All right? For those of you who don't know, a Raspberry Pi is a $35 computer.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the old days, when we used to buy Legos and the Erector sets, all right, and we kind of built things with that. Well, the idea today is you give someone this Raspberry Pi $35 computer, and you hook up power to it, you hook up a monitor, a keyboard, do all kinds of interesting things. After all, it runs Linux, and it's fairly inexpensive at $35. So that's where they're going with that.
And it's called the Raspberry Pi?
It's called the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
And will control your world.
Yeah, it will control your world, don't worry about it. And they've already got the program written so you can have two of them working in parallel with each other to do multi-processing.
What about reading something about that from PCRadioShow.org, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. You can stream it on your computer and they talk about it.
Okay, sure.
What about society? What about the people that do not adopt technology, do not adapt to these changes? Are they going to be our slaves? Or are the machines going to own them or us?
You and Ray ought to have that conversation.
I was side by side with Ray Kurzweil back in,
I'm sure you are.
in the 70s
Yeah,
at
okay.
Johns Hopkins.
Okay, there you go. But that is, it's always about the intersection of technology and humanity and what's going to happen. Because who knows?